What's going on, family? Welcome to another video. And of course, we have another episode here in the Family Table podcast.
Thank you so much.
And in this video, we have a very, very special guest. This man, Tulo. And I'm not a person that likes to butcher names. Could you pronounce your last name for us?
Yes, Owoyemi.
You said Owoyemi?
Owoyemi.
Oh, we doing a whole lot of butchering. Owoyemi.
Owoyemi.
Owoyemi. Look, I
Yeah.
messed up. I'm gonna tell you.
That's why I tried. That's why I had you say it first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's all good.
Owoyemi.
Okay. Yeah. Alex got a whole lot more closer. That's right.
See, so tell us, Tulo, like, what do you do now? Can you tell the audience like what you do, how you got here, how you serve them, that type of thing?
Yeah. So I'll start with the latter question. What I do a lot of webinars, installing sales teams into people's businesses, just installing systems, installing structures into their business. And to be honest, most of it is webinars. Set up the SMS, the email, the ads, the retargeting, all the different funnels. What about the back end, making sure the back end is well put together. I also help people do, some of the other things is like set up podcasts and things of that nature. But the main thing I've been heavily involved in is webinars.
Got you. Let's talk about before webinars then. Let's talk about OG Tulo real quick, right? Like what was OG Tulo doing? Like what was he doing before he got into the space he's in now?
Man, I was trying everything. When I got out the Marine Corps, I thought I was going to be a musician. I tried to start a clothing line, a Shopify e-com store. I was just exploring things. I remember one time I felt like I was trying to run 6 different businesses all at the same time. And I remember where I went to go record music. The guy's name is Matei, who owned the studio, 10, 12 years older than me. He owned a e-commerce development site and company. And we used to bounce like business ideas back and forth. And before I know it, it was like, yo, let's start this company called Digital Science Media, whereby we were doing music marketing for artists. And that's how I learned the Facebook ads, the webinars, the marketing, built subscriptions and, active campaign. And before I know it, I became a 35% owner of that business. And afterwards started the podcast, Mastermind Your Life. And from there, I noticed I was just getting clients. I would just talk to people on the podcast. Boom, they would become a client. So after some time, it was like, whoa, okay, we have a whole bunch of music marketing clients, but then we have entrepreneurial clients. Then I was like, I noticed I wanted more freedom to kind of steer my destiny, especially after I built the subscription for the business. And he was like, yo, it was bringing in money. Like it was monthly recurring. He started like dividing it a little weird. I was like, whoa. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to step out on my own. And I've been doing that ever since.
That's interesting. So now, before you were doing the Facebook ads, what is different from then to now and how you move with people, with companies? So you say you don't do partnerships. You don't do clients anymore like you did before. Now
Yeah.
you're doing growth partnerships.
That's right.
So what's the difference?
Wow, that's a great question. And this is something that I feel like every business owner kind of is just like an evolution. I think when you have a client, they can pay. I remember when I first started, it was like $1,000. Hey, just pay me $1,000. I'll do anything for you. If it's Facebook ads, if it's the funnel you need built up, anything. And they would pay that on a monthly basis. And what I saw was that there were people that we were rolling in dough for, but I was still not really compensated for that. Nah, thank God I did develop skills. But I also noticed I started becoming like a glorified employee. Once somebody pays you that, they can just wake up in the middle of the night. Hey, I just saw this thing on Facebook. This person did. Let's build. Because they're paying you. So it's kind of like, hey, you at the command. The other thing I saw was that some clients were paying monthly and they weren't really receiving that much value. Hey, once the thing has been built, it's just on a monthly recurring basis. So I saw all kinds of things when it came to retention. The growth partnership model is really fascinating because we're in it together more powerfully in terms of my success equals your success. So what that means is that I'm incentivized for you to win, but at the same time, I'm more appropriately and apportionately compensated for the value that I bring you. And it's kind of interesting because it's almost like my business expands because I'm acquiring another business.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, right. That kind of makes sense because you can just pay somebody and they don't do anything. You don't get the results that you are hoping to get, so they don't really care. It's like, oh, I don't really care. I mean, I'm getting paid. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like now it's like, okay, I want them to succeed because the more money they make, the more money I make.
There you go.
Okay. What's interesting also, so how many companies are you currently invested in now?
Four. And it's fascinating because that was something that's just recent. It's not like I've been doing growth partnerships. And to be honest, I'm completely blown out of my mind that I've been able to evolve into that because I'm like, oh my God, like if I had done that in the beginning, I would have been in a different stratosphere by now. But I'm thankful because now I feel like I have an entire football field and there's no defenders on there. So, the only thing now is just God has given me the opportunity to just say, here's one of the greatest ideas I can give you. You have physical strength, a brain, the ability to think, intuition, experience. Now go build.
So let me ask on that as well. What's a lot of people are wondering in our audience, yeah, like growth partnerships, but what is a growth partnership? Like, why is growth partnership such a huge thing in our space, or why is it a huge thing in your space? Like, what does it mean to have a growth partnership?
You know what's interesting is that God bless her. So Rashida, Sheeta 3,
Yeah.
that was somebody that's a recent, probably the most recent client. And, she paid $10,000. That's when I was doing, and I was selling high ticket packages. And
Mm-hmm.
she was selling a $97 a month subscription. Still is. And I think we got her to the point of doing 15,000 per month to $20,000 per month. Now, what's interesting is that about a week ago, the 3 months in which she was being serviced ended, and the money has been used for other things, invested in other things. That monthly reoccurring is still going to continue for her for even years. There's so many other things I can do to improve the vitality, like, reduce the churn rate, email, SMS, all kinds of things. But because I came in from like that high ticket package, I'm limited in terms of like my ability to orchestrate things within their business for growth. So the growth partnership, and it's you don't do this with everybody, obviously, but what it does is that it gives me incredible leverage because I still show people like, hey, this is 15, this is 25, this is 30,000. Hey, you know what? I like you. Instead of us doing that, let's just go ahead and do a rev share. So people are like, oh my God, the weight of 25,000 has been taken off my shoulders. They're going to do a rev share. So they see the value immediately. And I think the other thing, they're like, man, I'm just going to let him more operate because even when you sell like a high ticket package, they're saying they're going to let you operate within your zone of genius to a degree. The growth partnership allows you to operate within your zone of genius to a higher level.
Okay, Alex, you got a question on that? I feel
I'm
like you're
just
about to say something.
absorbing information. You all are kind of asking the questions, so I'm really just listening.
All right, so I think my follow up question to that is you said something important, which was you don't do this with every single client, right? So how do you decipher which client that is smart to do a rev share with and a client that you're just going to do high ticket offer with or a recurring
I,
client?
Man, you guys must have this. called me at the right time because I was like kind of like out of it for the last couple of days because the first person I did the growth partnership with, we go in, install his systems, his structure, even went, I think this was last week Friday, spent 3 hours, installed his closer, integrated the closer into Go High Level. I mean, the whole 9 yards. And I remember the closer was like, man, I'm hooked into the system, man. I appreciate you, man. Like, da-da-da. And I was like, yeah, tell D, that, he's good to go. As soon as he told him that, next day I wake up, there's a chargeback, and then I'm kicked out of the system. And I'm like, whoa. So basically, set up all of that. And he's like, man, I got it now. Let me kick him out of the system and run with what I have. And what I learned from that, first, what I started doing after that, all systems are going to be built internally inside of the white label because I have Go High Level as an agency plan. So, I mean, I already have 2 people on it. I had 2 people outside of it. So even the other guy, the other day we went to go eat at a Jamaican restaurant. I was like, oh yeah, you coming in. Like, it's not going to be outside anymore because the seeing that. So I think I'm still shooting in the wild, wild west. We do have contracts and revenue shit, but even when that happened, I was like, man, I spoke to my mentor. Should we? And he was like, you don't want to, like, it's probably not even worth the money and all the hassle and the back and forth. So I don't have a clear checklist because some people, they can seem really trustworthy and they're not.
So I have a question on that, right? So I know you say you learned a few things from that. As far as being able to read people and understand people's patterns and intentions, right? Because like you say, some people can seem trustworthy, but like looking back on the situation, I'm sure you're probably like, okay, well, when they did that, I probably should have paid attention more to that. Or when they did that, I probably should have paid attention more than that. So there were probably small things. So like, what have you learned from the situation moving forward that it has allowed you to read people better so you're picking the right partnerships when you're partnering with people?
That's a great question. You're right. What I did notice about D was that he showed signs of like more ego and like more resistance. And I think it was interesting. We started at 30% rev share. Then when the closer came in, he was like, hey, can you train the closer? You do 20. And when I said, hey, let's do 25, he was like, nah, nah, nah. And I think because it was new, I was like, let me just go and set it up. It's going to flow. So there was a lot of like, sparks a little bit, but I was like, hey, it's going, it's the start of something. It will smoothen itself out as time goes on. But with the other people, I haven't noticed that at all. There's the sparks aren't there like that. So I think the other thing, he was already running webinars when I came in and I beefed up his systems. The other people, they haven't ran webinars, or they did in the past, but they themselves are not the orchestrator of it. So they like maybe worked with like a third party or something of that nature. So I think that's another thing.
The signs were more so an ideal client for you is somebody that would probably not be familiar with webinars or don't have a webinar in place, so that you can bring in systems that would, and like you would say, beef up their systems in a sense, right? Or their business, right? So instead of having someone that's already an existing webinar person, because they would kind of be able to critique and be a little bit more resistant. Is that what you're saying?
It seems like now that Alex asked that question, that guy was kind of already in the flow. So he was like closing people. So he probably saw it more as like, yo, he's coming in to kind of like eat up rev share, and I already kind of had the system going. I think what I noticed is that I want somebody to have a great offer. Maybe they've done webinars in the past, or they're open to doing webinars. And I think the other thing is having an offer that the masses or the niche they're going after is really hungry for, is like a real powerful need. And they have to listen. I think that's the thing. If you, hey, we're going to do this, 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 and the third, and they're like, nah, it should be like, then it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So
You can't think you're the expert in this situation when you're coming to me for my expertise. Like you're looking for somebody who, regardless of if they've already been doing it or not, they're open to what you have to say because, like I said, they came to you for a reason. So trust why you came to me.
Yeah, you gotta let me work.
It's interesting that you said, I mean, when somebody does a chargeback on you, that really affects your business. It affects your
Hmm.
relationships with your merchant services. The banks start to look at you funny, like, why did this happen? What have you put in place for future chargebacks?
I probably had about 3 chargebacks, and I've won all of them. I hate having to deal with chargebacks. I'm not gonna lie, because the energy is messy. It takes you out of your flow rhythm, the flow state. There is a contract, so I'm going to submit the contract to the banking. I've already started putting things together. It's just messy. I think it's interesting because the part of the reason of having the contract is to kind of like avoid those things. I'm open to ideas about how to more powerfully, prevent those kind of things. I mean, I have Zoom recordings, so I'm going to submit everything to them, and I feel like because the bank and the customer, they operate as one. So the customer calls the bank, and the bank is like, "Well, you a member here, I got you. We're just gonna go ahead and Stripe is a middleman. So Stripe is, it's messy. That's why people don't like chargebacks. This is just a whole messy affair.
It is messy. It is.
Yeah,
We had a couple of chargebacks, and it was just like, really, after
yeah.
giving you the service, like, how
For
would
over
you,
2 years. It's
yeah, it was so literally did a chargeback, and it was like 4 chargebacks. Like, are you serious right now? From month to month to month, how could you sit up here? It's just amazing to me, the integrity of people. Sometimes it's mind blowing. Okay, so what would you say is your highest, when you say you're doing revenue sharing, so to speak, with growth partnership? What do you see? What was the highest amount that you've been able to make with one particular company based on the experience that you're offering through doing those Facebook ads and funneling and salesperson? And I want to know a little bit more about the salesperson portion of it. So how is it that you're giving them are you giving them a salesperson, or what exactly are you doing?
The growth partnership is completely new. So it's literally been developed within this last, not even 2 weeks, like week and a half.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So yeah, that's why I'm extremely excited about 2024. The sales team, I've just learned so much about closers. Like earlier this year, I installed 6 closers into my business, trained them Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Eduardo, Braden, Steve, Samantha, Abdul, Sasha. So, from that experience, and also in the past, helping to install closers into people's businesses, Smitty the Goat, Abras, I just learned that, the closers are there. And I think people have to earn the right to have closers. And what I mean by that is like starting off with somebody, hey, you got to do your webinar and you got to talk to these people. You got to be able to convert on your own initially. If you have some conversions, now we can start talking about closers. But if you haven't been able to convert a single person, what makes you think that the closer is going to be able to convert? So I think I remember one client, Abra, she was passionate about her offer. She was like, I got on the phone with these motherfuckers. And she sold like a couple of programs, but then she was like, I will tear somebody's neck off if they're talking about my offer that way. She was a salon owner, one of the largest ones in St. Louis. So we had to organize closers, install them into her system. They were the ones going through it. Smitty the Goat, his brand was just so popular and just bringing in so much attention. He was like, yo, Tolu, like, you see, he was showing us the calendar. He was like, look at all these. I can't even attend to all of them just because I got so much going on. So with him, we worked with somebody, like helped install a sales team. There's been others like that too as well. I think closers are an interesting dynamic.
So you said that. Oh, I see. All got questions on
Y'all got
sales.
questions. Ladies
Yeah.
first.
Right.
No, you guys go ahead, because I'm listening and I'm just like, how is it? Okay. Do you see that closers are very high in turnover?
The thing about closers is that you have to be consistent with your energy. Like like the energy you used when you got them, you want to keep that and you actually want to increase it. So what that means is like closers feed off the CEO's energy. They feed off the brand's energy because think about it. When they're talking to the consumer or the prospect on the call, they're representing your energy. They're representing your belief. So of course they may have their own experience, and it's great to find closers that have closing experience so that they can kind of like take all that together and close more efficiently. But I think the turnover, and I saw this personally too as well, is when the CEO or the person they lose belief or they're not in sync with the closers, they lose that connection. Some closers are a little bit like sharks. They can taste the blood in the water. So if you are going strong and you start slipping or and there's ups and downs in any business, closers don't like that. But what does happen is like the longer you have that relationship with the closer, the more they will like be solid for you. So it's like you want to do, if you have that closer that's like producing for you and you've known them for a while, you want to do everything in your power to like retain them, take care of them, because they have experience, they understand ins and out, they understand how to talk to the prospect, versus the new closer that's coming in, doesn't know anything, doesn't maybe not even trust you, is maybe thinking like, yo, you just one of many companies that I'm trying, audition for and see you're gonna be somebody I'm a. So if you got great closers, like man, spoil them a little bit, but you also gotta motivate them. Like things we did, we would do like a growth pot, money pot, and we would say if you close 2 sales or 3, or like who the first one to close this week will get extra 300, or they would get an extra bump in commission. So like little motivational games to get them excited, because there's a lot of other opportunities for them from other companies seeking closers and distractions and other things on social media. So it's like you do still have to earn the right for them to remain with you. And not only that, but to be motivated about selling your product, because you also hear horror stories about closers that they first started off motivated, they were in there, they were getting sales, but then as time went on, excuses, commissions dropped, they're not as motivated anymore. Yeah.
So I think on the question that I have in follow up to those things, you say you have 6 closers, right? So before I ask my main question, I kind of want to see you have 6 closers, which means that you have to have a certain amount of leads in order for them to be, eating off those leads. So are you running? Is this off organic or is this off of paid ads? Like how are 6 closers a lot? So I'm thinking, you got to have a lot of leads to be able to feed 6 closers. So like, how are you feeding? What's the main source of traffic you're doing to feed your closers right now?
Yeah. So this was earlier in the year. The 6 closed that I said, I ain't, no. So, but the way I was feeding them, which is interesting, is podcast appointments. So I
Interesting.
created setters. I had about 70 setters, 60 to 70 setters.
You said
I had,
70,
Oh,
yeah,
70.
yeah,
God dang.
Okay, yeah.
that's a lot.
I definitely want to know what you're about to say.
yeah. No. And what we did is we created all these IG profiles and we assigned the setters to the IG profiles, and then they did outreach. So they would do
Hmm.
outreach from those IG profiles we created, and then they would book appointments. The appointments would be distributed to our closers, and the closers would go in. They would have that conversation. Then they would shift everybody to what we call our value call. The value call,
Hmm.
I built out a pitch deck for the closers, so they would use that pitch deck to go ahead and hey, this is how we can help service you guys. Yeah. So that was earlier this year.
So let me make sure I have clarity on what you're saying. You had 70 closers and you had X amount of people have.
70 appointment setters.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
70. I said 70 closers. My bad. 70 appointment setters, and you would create IG profiles for each of them. They would do code outreach, and then code outreach for your podcast or code outreach just for your business.
Podcast.
Okay, so they would do code outreach for your podcast, and then they would come in and book the appointment for the closer, and then you would do. Is that what I heard for the closer?
Yeah, so the closer would do the podcast, and then after the podcast, the closer would transition that prospect into a value call.
Mm,
Oh, got you. So this
mm.
is like
So
the
it's
podcast. Got you.
qualify, basically getting them on a podcast because who doesn't want to be on a podcast?
That's right.
Instead of the closer trying to pitch them on an offer, they're providing value, but also allowing them to provide value. And then it's after the podcast is over. Are they pitching them the offer or are they scheduling them for another? Like, now, what happens at that point?
Schedule them in for a value call. Some of the closers, what they would do is kind of like sprinkle a little bit about like, because once you do the podcast, the intimacy is bonded right there. Then it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I got some great ideas to help you grow your business. We've been able to do a couple of things. Let's keep this conversation going. I was inspired by your story. And then they would,
Mm.
right then and there, everybody had to like get people onto a value call. So it's like, do not leave the podcast without getting the prospect on a value call.
So why did you stop doing that?
Man, I stopped it for a number of reasons. One, what we noticed, most people in the industry, like the coaches and the entrepreneurs, they're broke. They don't got money.
Dang. Wow.
Yeah.
That
What we
was
saw,
upfront.
it's true. It's
I'm not
true.
trying to laugh, but it is so true.
It is, out of, I think we had like 500 to 600, and we have a Google sheet. So each time somebody got scheduled, their niche, their IG handle, telephone number, so we have some details on them. And
Mm-hmm.
what we noticed was that most of them, oh, this is good, man. But I really, and it was life coaches and all kinds of different coaches and entrepreneurs. The great thing from that is that when we look back, it was like all the people who did purchase our services, they were business funding and real estate. So now we shifted to just focusing on the business funding individuals and people that are in real estate. Really, we kind of shifted real estate back a little bit, and we just said business funding because the business. All we noticed, like all the business funding people they interviewed, they were, oh yeah, I go to the bank, boom, grab that, and
Right,
it
'cause
was
they know
so
how to
much.
get the money.
Yeah,
They know how to get the money. So it's like
Yep.
it was a stepping stone. It really was to figure out the niche market that you wanted to get into. It was a brilliant idea to start off, and then it just turned into a better idea as you continue to just kind of learn and gain information from that. That's dope.
So why
So,
stop
'cause
then?
what I noticed, first of all, the closers want instant. They want money. So what was happening, and I didn't see back. I didn't see that. Oh, it's business funding people in real estate that were closing. We were interviewing any and everybody, and we're getting closes. Money was coming, but it was so sporadic. And closers, they want it coming in like it's adrenaline. They want it coming in like it's a drug. I mean, and truth be told, I think the online space is like, yo, you're a closer, you're gonna be this Lamborghinis, you're gonna have like money flowing and all kinds of stuff. So I think they got discouraged from one, it was sporadic. Two, myself handling six closers. After a while, I kind of was burnt out. I kind of realized like, something is off. And now I was like, I want a model that's more lean. Because when you're dealing with six individuals, they have six different personalities. This person's happy. This person needs motivation. This person is depressed. This person didn't show up today. This person, after a while, I was, I mean, hey, I'm like, hey, like, we can do it. And, months went on, but I kind of realized like, not that it's not a bad model, but I would want to put somebody in charge of the sales team. There's like maybe a sales team
Sales
account
manager.
a sales
mm-hmm,
manager. Um,
mm-hmm. Because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And how can you it's like you're trying to get sales for your company. You're trying to be in your business. It's like you can't be all in every place at the same time. It's overwhelming. It becomes very overwhelming. And so when I see Marcus, I'm like, okay, Marcus, you need to come up out of that because that's what the salespeople are for. He's like, well, I got to be on the phone, sales call with him, and he's on there with him every day at 8 o'clock in the morning. you know? And so it's just interesting because I'm like, hey, you up? He's like, up, I'm up. I'm like, because we have to talk to them, keep them pumped, keep them motivated, keep them going, make sure they're trained. I will say sometimes I think, you know, we were taught something the other day and I thought it was absolutely powerful. What one of our mentors said to us in reference to our salespeople. He gave us other avenues to look for them. We were considering going within, but to me, I think that we should go without money. They're money hungry, so when they know that they're going to make the money, but they have to believe in the product. So it's like, do we use some of our mentees because they already are going through the process and they believe in the product, or do we hire somebody outside that's just ready to go get it and just like boom, boom, boom? Sometimes it's like you're tossing it up in the air. You don't know. And that's where I find it because I'm tired of constantly, okay, we got a new person, we got a new person. Geez, when we're going to be able to keep the same salesperson in? But then we had to tighten up on our back end ourselves. We had to make sure that our message was a lot more clear. We had to make sure that our packages had the right amount of substance to it for our clients. We had to change things around. We changed our brand. We changed our look. We changed what we were offering. What we were offering 2 years ago is not the same thing that we're offering right now. So we wanted to dive more into it. It was like people were pushing us into that anyway. Oh, you guys are a family. How you get your sons on the same page? That's all
Yeah.
they ever used to say. How you all work together? What are
Yeah.
and for us, it's normal. It's normal for us because that's all my sons have ever seen. We always did things together. So we knew that was our end. That was our niche. So when we changed our name from social currencies to the fanpreneurs, it just, people were like, wow. And then it was just like a little test. And it's crazy because that actually happened last December when we were looking to change the name because we didn't officially change the name until January. We were social
Right.
Right.
currencies for quite some time. So
Yeah.
when we made the change and the consideration for the name change November, December, we were actually in Dubai. We were actually in Dubai at this time last year. We were
Incredible.
actually, matter of fact, a year ago today, we were getting ready to head back from
Hmm.
Egypt, from
Hmm.
Dubai today, and a year ago. So it was like, okay, we're going to change our name, change our look, and we're going to provide not just a little, but even more. And that's when we started writing the Black Rockefeller, and
Incredible.
we started offering different things. And we didn't want to be like everybody else, although we want the funding, but now it's more of the family. So now it's just trying to get people to understand. Now people are resonating more with, yeah, I want to include my family. And for those who don't have family, then it's like, well, if you got friends that you can partner with, that's your family. So now they're resonating more. So it's just a matter of, Marcus, Alex, how do we get people to convey our message? And that's what we've been working on. So just to hear you saying that, it was like, oh, okay. But 70 setters, I'm like, geez, Marcus would lose his mind if he had 70 setters. He would lose his mind, wouldn't he, Alex? He would lose his mind if we had 70 setters.
I would be extremely happy if I had 70 setters.
He
Yeah.
That would
would.
mean
I
something is
would,
working.
trust me.
That
We
means
all
something
would.
is working. That's
Yeah.
what that means. So like when you have 70 setters and 6 closers, I'm like, okay, something's working, so let's double it. Let's have 140 setters and 12 closers. You get what I'm saying? Like let's do it. Like how much money are we making off of these people? We're making 100K a month, and all we got to do is double it to
No,
make
we need to be
200,000
if
a
we
month.
got 70 setters, we better be making 200 to a million a month. Okay,
That's what I'm
200K to a
saying.
million.
Like something got to be working for 70. I want to make sure the audience don't know. I'm not saying 7. I'm not saying 17. I'm saying 70. 70.
7-0.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty serious. That's
Was that
pretty
all in
serious.
house?
Yeah. It was in house, and what we did, we had like a tracking. We had these Google forms whereby every time somebody outreached to somebody, it would track it, and I had analytics. We also, what I did was that the people who were with us the longest, we elevated them to team leads. So the team leads would have a group of like 10 to 15 people underneath them that they were in charge of.
I'm surprised you didn't do that for the closer. Like after you got to like 3, I'm surprised you didn't identify a team lead then. Because if you have 6, then by that time someone would be a sales manager and a team lead.
It's interesting because one of the guys that interviewed, he was his name was Greg something, and he was a 6-time world national soccer coach champion, and he was also Pete Vargas's and Grant Cardone's like one of their sales reps, and older white dude. And it's interesting now that I think back to it, because what he told me back then would happen is what happened. But I was so pumped, full of energy. I was like, nah, this is like, yo, like we, and he did want to come in as a sales kind of like manager. But what he said is that he wanted to see it kind of like unfurl first. And we were doing check-ins. We were kind of doing like, what was it, like monthly check-ins. But what I noticed about the sales team, first of all, so I did a different type of experimentation. So I had about like 4 white guys. I had 2 black guys and 3 white guys, 1 white woman. We started bringing in white clients all of a sudden, and I just noticed that it was sporadic. When if I knew now, if I could take that back in time, I would just going after people in funding, people in maybe credit repair, and people in real estate. Set all the setters to that. I think things would have been hugely different. But to answer your question, I don't even think I was thinking. I did think about that a couple of times, but they also told me. I remember him and maybe somebody else. No, no, no. You got to be in the trenches. Like, don't put no sales. You haven't earned it, or you haven't like you need to like roll up your sleeves and get dirty, get in there. Hey,
In
I
the
said okay.
beginning,
Yeah,
the beginning, sure.
I
yeah.
will say it appears that now we're getting more people of color. I'm not just talking about black folk. We are definitely getting people. I mean, we've always had we would have a couple of, white folks that would, be with us from time to time. That was with us from trading, when we were investing.
Yeah.
But now, when we started going this route, it definitely was more in the black community. And now it seems like there's more Latinas or Hispanics that are joining. We got some folks from Hawaii, so that's a whole different region in itself. We've
Wow.
always had the London or UK, but what we're doing now is specific to we used to have a very global. And I remember one of our people saying, "Why do you guys always talk about black people?" I said, "Because we're black." What do you say? You remember old dude from London? What was his name? And he would want to do everything with us. But because
G.
Yeah, it was G. But because everything started becoming proprietary to the US, we ended up losing our global audience because we had a global audience. And so I miss that. And so it's like now there are some things that we can do family wise that our global community can do. And it is, unfortunately, it's very sad that us in the US, if we're not from another country, like Tulo, where are you from originally, or where's your family origins
Nigeria.
from? So you're from the country about Nigeria.
Yeah.
You're from Nigeria, okay? Or someone is from Ghana, or someone's from South Africa, or someone's from Jamaica, or someone's, so people, Black folks know that's the country that I'm from. Here in the US, because we are descendants. So when you sit back and look at everything that's going on, it's like we're trying to come up, but again, we were dealing with separatism. And we're like, okay, if you don't know where you're coming from, so that's the reason why, hey guys, it's time to do the swab so you can know where you come from.
Yeah.
What's your DNA? Because folks sure do be asking me. I remember when the kids were younger, they're like, oh, I remember a lady walked up to me and said, oh, their mother must be gorgeous. Well, thank you. Because of course they're not my skin color.
Yeah.
Okay. They're my skin color, but they're not my skin color.
Mm.
You know, and of course people people that are not of color don't understand that we have different shades in our community.
Oh yeah.
That we're all not the same shade.
Oh yeah.
So when we're trying to advertise to people, at first it is the Black and brown community, but now they've taken away affirmative action, and they're trying to take away affirmative action, and they'll sue your company if you say it is just for people of color. Although we still advertise in a sense that it's when we're talking, we say people of color, but our website doesn't say people of Black and brown families, because we have to be careful. So it's like, but then it's like, we don't want to turn away that that other money, because it's all green or it's all digital. Now we're digital. Okay, so we don't want to turn away any money, because if they can be helped, we're going to help them. So now it's just a matter of how do we just help the family as a whole. We're still focused on the Black and brown family for sure. But again, I mean, Marcus, are we turning away money?
I mean, was that actually a question?
There's not too much money we turn down, but we know when to turn down money.
Incredible. That's
like it's similar to what you were saying about earlier about the growth partnership, where you're like, I know when to do rev share, I know when, or the signs. Do you get what I'm saying? Like it's similar on, we know the signs if we shouldn't work with a person or if we should work with a person. You know what I mean? Exactly. So I want to pivot real quick, because originally off of the podcast here, we were talking about you doing ads before, you now getting into growth partnerships. Like, tell us what shifted to be like, you know what, I'm kind of done with recurring revenue and I'm more into growth revenue. I'm sorry, equity. You get what I'm saying? Because you're more into equity now than recurrence. Can you tell us the mindset shift in that respect?
I think like one of the things, like I'm kind of on sabbatical right now, so I like to take a week, 2 weeks off this at the end of the year, and I just reflect. I reflect on the entire year, the purchases, the people, the emotions, the situations, the business growth, the ups and downs, like everything that I can go through. I try to go through it. And I think I remember I had this one client, and it was a subscription, and it was do it yourself webinar. Her name was Dr. Arena, and she was doing so well, and she just out of nowhere, kind of like all the momentum just like went opposite. And I remember having a conversation like one on one. Hey, what happened? Hey, something happened in my business. But after kind of like talking, she was like, "Let me tell you something, Tolu. I built this business because I wanted this life. I wanted freedom. I wanted to impact other people. I wanted to be able to go with my family and travel and do things. What I realized is that I built a prison. I built this business that has taken control of my life. And not only is it not giving me what I want out of life, but it's actually like preventing me from like doing certain things." And I think is a situation with a lot of entrepreneurs, where a business is an organism, and it's like you got to grow it carefully, because if not, it can throw hands. It will. It'll So I think part of that was the growth partnership is, how do I create or be more intentional about designing a lifestyle whereby I'm living life on my terms, because I'm the way I'm giving value to people with the reoccurring. Oh my God. Hey, Mark, I remember when we were doing ads for you. I would wake up on Saturday, hit the gym, 10 a.m. I'm there, I'm locked in. I had so many clients, and it was like, I don't have no life. You know what I'm saying? Outside of that. And man, I just remember burning out multiple times. And you try, experiment with different pricing, you experiment with different things. But I think what I realized too is like there's other things I want to do in life. I want to go to Brazil and go salsa dance, go tango. I want to go to Italy and go sculpt stones. I want to go to Venice and go draw, like do other things. So it's like building the business to give me the intentional life that I deserve, and I see growth partnership as being more in alignment with that.
That's that avenue that you feel that it can go through. And it's interesting you say that, because every end of the year I'm just like, I'm off. I mean, after today, we're off, but we're not off. It's more of a reflection, meaning you're not dealing with the clients per se. And it's just like, okay, how are we going to be better? This is a time where we're reflecting on who's going to be let go from our company. Because it's definitely a couple of people as of today. I'm like, oh, you out. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. App's not done. This not done. You're giving me excuses. you know, uh, you're not getting it done, you're fired. So it's like, and that's not the route that you want to go. But it's like, I remember last year when Marcus wanted to let some people go, I was like, Marcus, you're being mean. And here it is. I remember when I had my pharmaceutical company, courier company, and I had 65 to 70 people working for me. And what it was is, I can't carry you, you know, if you're not going to do the job, and if you're not going to help us grow, you got to go, point blank. And my mind now, it's like, yes, you have a family, this, that, and the other. And as a business owner, and because I have worked for myself, meaning I didn't have somebody paying me from their job, I had to create. It's like everything is not a do or die, but ever since Marcus was 29 years old, he's 29 now. Alex is 27. I've been working for myself that long, that long. So if I don't get up and do, we don't make any money. I don't. Meaning, I don't make any money. They know if we don't get up and do, light to be off, gas to be off, water, no car, no this, that. And I'm glad to know that with them, it's like, yeah, we can have all these nice supercars, this, that, and the other, but I prefer the experience of being able to travel the world together, see different things. And Alex, if he can, he'll be gone 9 to 10 months out of the year. Marcus,
Ah,
Shoot, for real. But speaking of doing, I actually have to do a call in about 30 seconds. So,
yeah.
Tolu, it was a pleasure
Hmm.
to speak with you again.
Yeah.
We'll definitely make sure we connect soon.
For sure. Take care.
yeah,
God bless.
thank you, Alex.
Yeah.
So for us, it's more of what is going to be, how do you move your company forward?
Mm,
It is truly about moving forward, tightening up, making sure that our fulfillment is on the best that it can be. And that's all we talk about now is how is our fulfillment, what is our sales, and how are we going to market ourselves. Those are
yeah.
our number one priorities. And at first it took me, I was like, we're not doing that. But it took
Yeah.
me a minute for us to even acquire a mentor. Then when
Mm,
I paid for a mentor, Mark was like, Mommy, you paid $20,000 for why? I mean, everybody, and then it was like, no, man, look at what happened because I did that. That was
yeah.
my first understanding. Before it was a nickel and dime. I was paying her 100, 200, 300, but it wasn't until when I got that one person, and I'll say her name. It was Audrey Richmond. That's when I understood, dang, I do need a mentor. Then it went to Neo.
Yeah.
So it went from Audria to Neo to all these others thereafter. And it's like, then all of a sudden you get addicted to the mentor. I need a mentor. I need a mentor. You do need a mentor, but you got to choose the right mentor. And we're in a mentorship now, and it's a 6-week program. And it's a couple of people in that mentorship, and one of them had been there way before we was in there. And I was like, oh, so that's where she ended up going. And that's the reason why her stuff jumped off, because even it could be that one thing. You just like, I already know this, but all of a sudden it's the one thing that they say. I was like, that's the reason why I was here. But that information there. So now we can go run, tighten up our business. And that's what's been happening over the last year and a half. It was like we didn't regret the mentorships that we were in because we ended up being in another one. And I have to say I got to give homage to Runway because he changed my mindset on some stuff. Neo for us, for the family as a whole, so it changed and elevated our business. So I give homage to those folks because we wouldn't be where we are now with our business and how we move if we didn't learn the information. I'm not saying we wouldn't have never learned it, but now it's all about our advertising. It's all about our collaborations. It's all about where we marketing to from here on out. That's what it's all about for us.
Yeah, I think more of the story of what she's saying is that designing your life is important in different aspects. You know what I'm saying? So, no, I'm just saying, I'm trying to give a summary of what you just said, relating to Tolu and what he was saying to kind of tie it back in. I'm just tying it back in, right? And I kind of I have another question, just one more topic at least to touch on is you mentioned that you focus on webinars, right? Now, for all the people who do webinars, we even do webinars, right? Now we're focused on the automation webinar space now than the live. We've done live webinars for I have no clue how long we've been doing it. It's been at least years that we've been doing webinars.
No, it's been 7 years of no. I take that back. You and I just started doing webinars together over the last 5 years as a business. But mommy was doing webinars. We were doing webinar call. We were doing calls,
Wow.
conference calls.
I remember those.
It wasn't a Zoom out. It was a free
Free
conferencing.com.
conferencing. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Marcus and I was like, Mom, when you're going to be off the phone? I didn't mean to cut you off, son.
No, you
But
good?
and
Yeah,
then when
for
I think
sure.
about it, it's been well, shoot,
It's
almost
been a long
12
time.
years.
It's been a long time. I will say, I think for me, 5 years ago, what is 2023? 5 years? What is
Yeah.
Yes,
that?
son.
What is that? 2017, 2018, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I think I think I might have gone on and off at that point, but I think consistently doing webinars since 2020, consistently.
Beautiful.
So it's been like 3 years. So my question for you is in regards to webinars,
Mhm.
what tips or what strategies do you usually implement into webinars? If somebody is new into webinar or existing into webinars, like what are some things that you're like, yo, this is exactly what you need when it comes to webinars?
Man, I get asked that a lot, and that's a great question. I like presentation. A lot of people, even the experts, their their presentations, people don't understand. Like when you have people in that room, even if it's 10 people, even if it's 5 people, or hundreds of people, thousands of people, you almost want to imagine that you've taken them to a different dimension. And the way you show up with your energy, the way your slides are created, creates the environment of that dimension or alternate reality. And you want to be extremely intentional about cultivating that environment so that it leads to your outcome. And what I mean by that is you got to understand your prospects. Are these people that are skeptical? Do they have a lot of money? Do they not have a lot of money? What kind of questions, doubts, fears do they have in their mind? You got to address all of that in your webinar. The other thing I love that people don't understand, storytelling, like emotion, like people. I tell people, I'm like, oh my god, okay, there was a miscarriage, something died, the bank put it into the webinar, put it into the like the grittiest things, but artfully, masterfully. You spread that energy all throughout because when people go on Netflix and they watching the show, there's the hook, there's they look, man, I just finished watching Power, man, I just finished watching Stars of XYZ. You want to create that effect in the webinar whereby people are so glued and so invested into what you're saying that there's already changes happening within them emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And a part of that is the storytelling being true and stepping into the power of your story. I remember just a couple days ago, I had a client. This was one of the new growth partners, and she popped up on a Monday. She was like, "Hey, I'm doing this in-person real estate event in Atlanta," and she had never really told her story before. So designed it within a couple of days, and I remember when she started, she just kept saying 5 minutes straight. She was like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." After she gave the presentation, she came back and two other people were on the call with her that were there in person, and they were saying we had never been touched like that before. This is what we needed. This is what we were looking for. And I always tell people after they're done going through your presentation should have a mental orgasm. They should also, it should be so strong that they're like, man, I need that link to the family business, man. They wake up the next morning, they're like, man, I can't believe I didn't at least talk to somebody. I didn't get and to be able to do that means you understand their problems, you understand what they're trying to accomplish, and you position yourself so powerfully within. So it's combining those elements. You got testimonials in there, storytelling, raw emotion. You're engaging with the audience. Are y'all going through this? And after they're done, they're like, "Oh my God! Thank God I attended this webinar, this presentation." So offer has to be on point. Storytelling, got to make sure you got the right audience in there. You can tell when you got a great webinar. You can also tell when a webinar,
and all that.
yeah.
So like what are some common leakages from a webinar that you've realized? Because I've heard you should have sales team with your webinars. You should have mini chat in your webinars or automation in your webinars or whatever to like remove leakages. But like what are some leakages that you've seen that worked?
That's a great question. And it's interesting because one of the things we did is called like an infinite webinar loop. And what we would do is that we would have in Go High Level, we would kind of have like this automated webinar sequence. So once somebody opts in, they start getting the email, the SMS. Uh, we also did a thing whereby we had like 15 minutes to an hour before the webinar started. We did a ringless voicemail drop. It was very powerful. What we did after that is that anybody who didn't book a call, they were automatically looped into the next week's webinar automatically. And that was through a go-to loop in Go High Level.
Oh
Um,
yeah, no, I'm familiar with that.
yep. Um, the One of the great things that I heard about like leakages, this guy I interviewed, Isaac something, he's done about 140 million with webinars. And what he does is that during the presentation, he's like, hey, if y'all really having a great time, you really enjoy, you want to get a little bit more details, just drop your number there in the chat. And he actually has a sales team on standby. So, because it's in the middle of the presentation and they're just dropping their phone number in, it's really not that distracting. They don't have to leave the window to go somewhere else. So as soon as they drop the number, a VA or automation kind of collects that of Zapier and it sends it to the sales team. So immediately the sales team starts sending the person like a quick message, has them locked into the, hey, Jeffrey was here, Ashley was here. And I was like, that's incredible. Um, Other leakages I've seen is just re-engage the list. Keep re-engaging them because multiple times people some people they want to watch you for a while before they purchase. Oh yeah, this is my fifth webinar with you, man. I'm gonna go ahead and purchase now. But you know, I had one person. They watched the person for 8 years before they purchased anything from the
Oh
webinar.
wow,
So yeah, people are different.
That's crazy.
that's actually OD.
Yeah, you
I'm
should
not
know what you
gonna lie
want to
to
do by then. But then again, maybe their headspace wasn't in the right place.
Yeah,
you. Eight
yeah,
years?
8 years.
You know what I'm doing after 8 years?
You done gone into a whole different world. You
Right.
yeah,
That's crazy. But it goes to show the amount of follow up. Why follow up is important as a whole when it comes to people. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if I've ever lasted 8 years to know when I purchased something. I mean, it's probably been months, but I know that
That stuff
sometimes
just
I just
bother
need to.
somebody.
yeah, I just need to vet somebody real quick to make sure they know the information before I just, buy something. You get what I'm saying? Like at least that's how I approach it. You know what I mean? I gotta feel like you're the authority to me for me to be able to, let me buy this person's program.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? But other than that, you got any? Can we let the audience? Can you tell the audience really like where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you? Can you let them know that?
Yeah, best thing, Instagram, literally, Tolu, Tolu dot Owoyemi. Just shoot me a DM. I'll respond. I got a couple of gifts for you all. Another quick way just to send us a message. You can webinar to 443-775-3580. And again, we got some awesome gifts for you all.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So look, y'all heard it from the man himself. All right. Make sure y'all tap in. Make sure you go ahead and text this man. Follow him on Instagram. He has a great podcast. You might learn something. I mean, he just gave y'all some game this entire time. So make sure y'all tap in. Appreciate you for tuning in to the Family Table Podcast, and we'll see you in the next one.
We'll see you on the next
Incredible.
one.
Thank you.